All right, welcome to week 3. Welcome back, English 123. We're going to continue our discussion on annotated bibliographies. Chances are this is your first exposure to this type of an assignment. I think it may be possible that you've had some kind of annotated bibliography in another class, but maybe not to this degree, maybe not this extensive as far as this many sources and for this kind of a formal research project. So I wanted to kind of just emphasize here that this assignment can be unfortunately overlooked or maybe underestimated in terms of its value. But it is a very valuable assignment, a very valuable skill for you to invest in and engaging with and learning, because what it ultimately does is helps you understand your sources, helps you to become an expert on your sources. Unfortunately, with the amount of sources that you read through, it's very easy to kind of, if you didn't have an annotated bib, it'd be very easy to only have a kind of surface understanding of your sources, to kind of have a scattered idea and understanding of, well, I have this source that there's a quote there, and I have that source over there, and just maybe one or two quotes there, but you really don't know what the whole full picture is about each of those sources. In this type of an assignment, it is going to give you the opportunity to really know your sources well and to be able to use them effectively. Because if you know them, then you can really have some authority in what you're going to say about them. And that's what's really important, is to really have the necessary authority and credibility and understanding of what you're saying, because then that builds credibility for you. The more credibility you have, the more emphasis you can put on your argument, and the more successful you will be in accomplishing your goal in either persuading your audience to agree with you, to take your view, or to at least consider what you're saying, at least consider for further thought and for further consideration in the future about what points you're trying to make and what argument you're making. So again, this assignment helps you to become an expert in these sources and how you're using them and what you're going to say with them, how you're going to use them. Because think, the more skillful you are with a tool, the better off you will be in accomplishing the specific task that those tools are made for. So academic tools, research tools, are made to support research, just as a hammer and a drill and a screwdriver are made for construction purposes. Someone who's skilled in using those tools is going to be effective in accomplishing the task of construction or building or some type of composition in that way. Well, you are constructing and composing, and so you have tools. Your tools are words, your tools are sources, your tools are your own thoughts and your own opinions, your own view. So as you begin to mix your tools together and use them in a composition for a specific purpose, then you have rhetoric. You are writing in a rhetorical setting. You have a rhetorical purpose in your writing, and you are setting out to accomplish a specific task. And that's really what the definition of rhetoric is. It is using language for a specific purpose, for a specific result. And so writing and composition and rhetoric, they go together, but then they work with evidence. They work with sources, because those sources and evidence are what hold up and support what you're trying to say. Because remember, these individuals, the authors of these sources that you're reading are experts in their field. They're likely some type of PhD professor or expert that you're quoting. So then in a sense, you're kind of acquiring their authority. You're using their authority for your advantage, which then gives you authority in what you're saying, because you're backing it up with something that's credible and sound. Okay, so the annotated bibliography is a means of understanding your sources It's a means of communicating what your sources are saying to an audience, me, um, and it's a way of enabling you to plan out how you're going to use your sources as well. So there's multifunctions which we're going to kind of break down in a moment, but I just wanted to start off with that just to help you understand that this assignment is something that, though it may be a bit unusual, though it may not apply to every writing assignment you may have in the future, it is certainly a skill that is necessary that you will likely use in some capacity in your upper division courses at least. Most formal research projects, not just for a composition course, could be for something in some of the other humanities courses, social sciences, uh, will likely require some kind of annotated bibliography. It could even be a literature review, which is another type of an assignment which deals with sources, but it's more in depth. But the annotated bibliography is really kind of, in some ways, the bare minimum. And so that is going to have some value for you in the future and for this particular research assignment for this course. So what is a bibliography, or what is an annotated bibliography? Well, a bibliography is really a works cited page. So if you have MLA, APA, Travian, Chicago, all of those different styles, those works cited pages of all of those sources that are being quoted or being summarized or being paraphrased in the research paper, that's a bibliography. Now, annotating that means to document typically a paragraph to 2 paragraphs for each source where there is some analysis and some critical thinking taking place with regard to that specific source. So I know I kind of briefly discussed that a bit last week, so there will be some overlap with this video, which is fine because we're building layers of understanding here. So what you heard last week is going to apply to this week. So it's going to connect. It's going to kind of layer on itself and help you understand this better. So again, it's just a works cited page with annotations. Now, it is a composition. It is the first actual composition assignment for this class. So it's not just a casual Facebook post or a Twitter post for these citations. It is a formal, academic, intellectual paragraph that's going to discuss your source as you would in any other essay. So the same type of tone, diction, usage, style, all of that is going to be the same for any other academic essay that you would for this. It's just that this is broken down for one paragraph. It's compartmentalized for each source, just one paragraph. But it needs to be a formally academic paragraph for each of those sources. So again, just want to stress that this is a composition assignment and not just a casual posting for each of the sources. So I wanted to kind of just take a look at the assignment prompt and give some commentary on that. There's not a whole lot that can be said as far as beyond, the prompt itself is pretty self-explanatory. I want to provide commentary on that just so to make it clear, because as I said, this might be the first time that you will really experience this. So the annotated bib, as we are looking here in week 3 for our course activities, I wanted to focus in on nearly towards the end of the main paragraph here. It is saying here, each source needs to be followed by a paragraph. One paragraph, yes. Sometimes it's up to 2, but the paragraph should have 3 particular functions. Number 1, briefly describes the source and its main argument. So what is the source? Perhaps maybe who's the author? I think that should be noted. Perhaps who's the publisher? Perhaps what are some details about their credibility as far as why it's a sound scholarly source. It doesn't have to necessarily be a real, in-depth analysis of that, but it should be at least touched on to a degree. So briefly describes the source and its main argument. So you want to describe the actual content of that source. What is the thesis statement? What is the main argument of that source? And then what are some of the main supporting points that are coming up? And then perhaps maybe what are some of the more finer subpoints that are being discussed? So you want to think through, provide maybe a few sentences within that paragraph as far as the main argument and some of the main substantive details of that particular source. Number two, it should evaluate the effectiveness of that argument, of the main point of the source or the essay. How well does it support the argument through those main points and subpoints? Is there any kind of disconnect between the points and the main argument? Does it flow logically? Is it reasonable? Is it agreeable? What are some of the details of that argument as far as how it's supported? How well is it in accomplishing its goal of persuading you or persuading any other reader of that source? Is it preposterous, or is it plausible? Is it reasonable? Is it absolute? Yes, this is absolutely agreeable. Now, of course, chances are a source that you're using to support your argument you're going to already agree with, but maybe you will definitely need to provide counter arguments. So maybe you found a source of your counter argument, and you can pick apart that counter argument and show why it's wrong, why you disagree, or why an individual should not agree with that particular argument. So that is something to keep in mind as well. So evaluate the effectiveness of the argument, number two. Number three, it speculates about how you will use the source in your paper. Now, the key word there is speculate. Of course, your paper's not written yet, so you'll have to kind of think ahead as far as how will I use it? How am I going to use it? What am I going to do in my paper with this source? What function does it serve in my paper? And really, why? Why am I using it? Why is it effective? Why should I use this source? So how and why is going to be really important with that question. How will you use it? And I would say why. And that really just ties into the effectiveness of the argument and how the main argument may relate to your particular topic and your particular claim. So now there are 5 features that need to be included in this particular annotated bibliography. So first of all, number 1, we need a complete bibliographic citation or information. So the citation needs to be complete down to the actual punctuation. So it should follow the specific MLA or APA citation. It's going to be graded based on how concise it is, or how precise, I should say, it is to that MLA or APA guideline. Number 2, a concise description of the work. So concise, of course, means a condensed, to the point, specific description. So be careful of wordiness, be careful that your writing doesn't trail off. Keep it to the point, keep it focused on the main arguments and the main points of the article. You want to provide any relevant commentary, which I would also say would be relevant analysis, analytical review of that source, and relevant critical thinking about what's being said. Again, we want this to be a fully developed paragraph. Further, we want a consistent presentation. And then finally, we want a reliable academic, or what we know as scholarly source. So then the rubric breaks down each of those 5 categories. Each of the 5 will make up your grade and how it is determined. Completeness. The completeness includes each of the 8 sources that are required for the assignment. That is the exemplary category. So 8 sources that includes a paragraph-long annotation. Now, a word about the annotation. This should be a substantive annotation. As I said before, it's not just a casual posting. It is a critical thinking, analytical assignment. So we want a substantive paragraph that really fully develops the information that's expected. Now, a paragraph can be up to a half a page in an assignment like this. Half a page paragraph would be acceptable. Wouldn't necessarily have to go any further than that. Maybe 3/4 of a page, depending on the source, depending on how relevant it is to your research and how much you have to say about it. But certainly not just a 3-sentence paragraph. As you know, a paragraph, it takes at least a minimum of 3 sentences. So I wouldn't go with the bare minimum. I would have a fully developed paragraph for each of these annotations. The second category here, the exemplary column. Each annotation concisely and comprehensively describes its source, including its perspective. So again, that's just a matter of development through the paragraph, developing your analysis of that source. Further, relevant commentary. Each annotation provides clear speculation about how the source will likely be used in the research paper. So again, clarity and really understanding how you're planning to use it, how you anticipate to use it. Not just, on a sentence, but some description and some explanation behind how you're going to use this particular source. Moving on, reliable academic sources. Of course, all sources for the exemplary category are going to be scholarly sources, academic peer-reviewed, and reliable. So we discussed that last week, so be sure you're looking for those peer-reviewed scholarly sources. And then lastly, grammar, formatting, and consistent presentation. So the annotations should be to the standards of academic writing, professional tone, varied and correct word choices, sentence structure, proper MLA, APA formatting. So all of that is going to be really important for this assignment. It's worth using the writing process for this assignment, having a first draft if necessary, editing, revising each of these annotations. So I wouldn't suggest just writing it and just giving it one read over and then, okay, I'm going to turn it in. Spend some time on this assignment. Spend some time crafting these paragraphs. Spend some time brainstorming and pre-writing and free-writing these paragraphs. Spend some time, listing out your ideas and how you want to approach each of these annotations. So the things that we've done in week 1 and week 2 will still apply to each of these annotations that you're going to be writing, because they do apply to the writing process still. And so if you need to go through a draft or two for this, if you need to have a friend read through this with you and proofread for you, I would definitely suggest that. If you're on campus, you can certainly pursue writing tutors there in the Academic Writing Center, and they'll be able to assist you with that. There's even online writing tutors as well that you can utilize through Blackboard to get some some feedback on your assignment. But I wouldn't just turn it in on the first draft. I would really spend the time editing and revising. That way you can really do the best of your ability and really produce some quality work for this assignment. So hopefully this helps you prepare for the assignment. Hopefully this clarifies the details and helps you understand this assignment a little bit better. So now it's just a matter of digging into those sources and really thinking them through and really knowing them well, and then going through this exercise and really critically thinking on terms of those the main idea, the argument, and the supporting points, and how they're being discussed in the source, and then how you're going to use the source. So there's going to be some planning, some analytics, all those things are going to play in, but they're all going to help you in the ultimate completing this research project as you get into the drafting stage of your paper. So we're going to leave it there. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'll be happy to answer them. Again, if anything is not quite clear, not quite understandable, please let me know and we can certainly clarify any of those details for you. All right, well, I appreciate your time in reviewing the video, and again, good luck on the assignment, and please let me know if there's anything else I can clarify for you. All right, well, thank you.